What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar, and today we get to look at none other than Italy's major event, their regionals that they had, their top 8. We saw a little bit probably on the US English Digimon page, the official page. They posted only the top 4. This time we're going to take a look at the top 8, and we have a bunch of data coming around from it that I want to thank one of the other content creators for gathering. So without further ado, let's dive into the video and talk about it. So first off, Star Callers. Star Callers is the one that neatly gathered this and presented it. Definitely, if you can understand Italian and an Italian player, he's definitely one of the follows to give. So definitely, let's take a look at the meta breakdown for regionals for the Italian event. So a lot of data is here to give us. So first off, we kind of see all the decks that were played from 111 and a in-person event. So we had 1 Alpha, Bellastar, Merva 1, Beelzemon 24, Black War Greymon 11, Bloom Lord 6, Blue Flare 2, D Reaper 1, Doro Brick 1, Eosmon, Examon, Gallantmon 2, Grandis Kawaga 1, Hunters 14, Imperial Jewel 1, Jessamon 1, Machine Dramon 7, 3 Mass Day, Metal Gurumon X at 2, Mirage Galg at 1, 9 Red Hybrid, Sakuyamon at 1, Security at 2, All Force at 2, War Greymon X at 2, Crossheart at 11, and Yellow Hybrid at 3. So it looks like Yellow Hybrid might be coming into the fray again. This was before the Metal Yellow Hybrid actually topped on our side for people to get the data from. So this is quite interesting to see that people are trying out Yellow Hybrid still. Then on the top 32, they had 4 Beelzemon, 5 Black War Greymon, 1 Bloom Lord, Blue Flare 1, Hunters 7, Jessamon 1, 4 Machine Dramon in the top 32, then Red Hybrid at 4, War Greymon X at 1, and then Crossheart at 4. Then proceeds into the top 16, which was Beelzemon at 4, Blue Flare at 1, Hunters at 4, Red Hybrid at 3, Red War Greymon, basically 1, Crossheart 3, and then the top 8 was Beelzemon 2, Blue Flare 1, Hunters at 3, Red Hybrid at 1, and Crossheart at 1. So final standings is what it looked like here. Impressive. Using this information, multicolor deck to monocolors, but wow, really pretty solid to see this meta breakdown. And now let's take it into a look of each of the decks. First off is the Blue Flare list, which is quite interesting. I definitely agree with Solrai is definitely a great, powerful threat in the format, especially being able to lock down your opponent. Definitely the Sayokos and the Madoki Beta for Blue Flare until they transition into the new version, which is EX4, I think is probably the way to go. I don't know about jamming Vmon. I think you should have, he got first. I can't nitpick it, but personally, I wouldn't play jamming Vmon in that slot. It would have probably been the Dracmon, because at least it synergizes with the deck. If you're going to play so many targets, it gets a little more complicated for Blazing Memory Boost here to actually hit. So you lose out on targets, which become more brick potentials, and you don't want to have that. And then finally, the Z Greymon at 3 is kind of the only iffy thing about the list that I'm not a huge fan of. I think maybe 2, but Death X at 2 is kind of fine, especially if you're facing against Hunters or something like that. You can set up things very interestingly in a different way that most likely wasn't planned to, which again, double Death X on an opponent, they have to answer and respond pretty quickly, especially if they give you they have an extremely wide board. Is pretty interesting to me. And it's really interesting is they only went with 4 Kirihas, and then that's it. Quite an impressive feat. Usually some decks don't even do that, so good to know. Whoopsies. Next is Crossheart. So this has been a hot second. We haven't seen anything related to Crossheart, this version with the new Superior mode, in a hot second. So it's kind of cool to see this kind of thing, especially depending on ratios and everything. It's good to see 4 Sparrowmon, 4 Shoutmon, 4 Starmon, and then 1 Starmon Star Sword. So not bad. It gives you plenty of targets for your Shoutmon Superior mode, times 7 Superior mode. So you have these Shoutmons, this Shoutmon, all valid targets to activate its effect. And then, really interestingly, is they're playing ×5 at 2, which isn't a bad call. That's a pretty solid assessment of the meta. But they also aren't full out going 4 ×3, which I think is quite impressive there as well, because normally you would want to max out on that up to a full playset. But I think this is a pretty solid list, and you did a great job. And then we have Hunters. So top 3, we're straight up basically seasons. You know, Blue Flare, you have, you know, Crossheart, now you have Hunters. So basically all 3 seasons are kind of represented. Well, I mean, the first 2 were the same cast, just a slightly different modification. There we have in Crossheart just kind of the normal list. Well, Hunters, we have a kind of normal list here. I'm sorry, I know I said Crossheart, but it's Hunters. Taking a look at it, we have 3 Watchmakers, 3 Tigirus, 4 Taikis, 3 Yus. Then you have Quartzmon, Omnishout, you know, Arrestermon, Superior Mode, Clockmon, you know, everything else that just wants to play the deck normally. I don't see any issues with the ratios here. They're pretty much normal if I'm looking at it. Nothing too crazy, do you think? Oopsies. Oopsie poopsies. I need to stop doing that. Next is 4th place, and that is Beelzemon, which is really interesting to me, is that kind of sort of similar to Dang Vang's list, especially the ratios here. Dang Vang's 2nd place list definitely played the same ratios here. Here, definitely played the Witchmon, Bowmon, and then regular Bowmon. You know, kind of very similar, except for placing Bellastarmon, you know, and Deathslinger isn't at 1. So definitely good to see the ratio, kind of very interesting to see a similar kind of playstyle here. And that's not bad. Then we had for 5th place is none other than Red Hybrid. So it's definitely good to see Red Hybrid climbing up in the ladders. Definitely a very powerful deck. And I like the 2 Nemons, being able to play any of your type, you know, Takuyas for free is really good. And that's really going to be vital in some instances. I think this is pretty good. The list isn't going to change much in retrospective, but I like the 2 Blitz Omni. It's really cool to see that they went that route, especially if you clear out security, you can go Blitz Omni game. Not a bad deal. I think this is the only thing I'm nervous about on the weaker end is Flamemon, but with have Bokomon and Nemon in, I know you have to cut some ratios out, but it's pretty good to see the list no less. Then we have another Beelzemon. 7-fold cluster. There we go. Ooh. 1st place didn't even play that. Interesting. So 7-fold cluster. Same rookie ratio. So that might be the fixed rookie ratio that we see from now on. Champions are very similar. X antibody instead of that Balmon. Not terrible. And then you have Beelz. Okay. I can dig this. X antibody option. Not terrible at all. Very solid list. And great job. Now let's get into 7th place is Hunters. Hunters tucking in Toomon. So, and using the overflow power, which is quite good. In certain circumstances, being able to cheat evolve is massive and it can get you into situations where your opponent won't like it. Toomon is very scary to deal with, especially if you can de-digivolve your opponent's level 5 or even going further. Beyond getting up to a level 7, being able to de-digivolve at 1 is nasty. And it's for a 1-cost evolve. And then you have Arrestamon, basically being able to get into Quartzmon. So I think the list is pretty solid. Nothing too out of the ordinary there. Whoops. And then we have the 8th place list. Let's take a look. Another Hunter's deck, very similar. Instead of running the pencil, they're running Shoutmon, which isn't a bad trade-off. Being able to pop opponents' rookies when you swing in is not a bad deal, especially when you can Digivolve up, and if you can keep it your turn for that 2 cost, that's not a bad trade-off. And then you can get rid of any of the Psychmons, or, well, Sayokomons that are kind of just trying to hinder you. I like this spicy tech of Toomon. Definitely gets opponents off nasty threats, especially if you're talking about Quartzmon himself. And that's kind of just where we're going to go with this. I think this is pretty solid. There's nothing wrong with these lists. And it's a good top 8, actually. Congratulations to all in the Italian in-person regionals. You did a good job, well deserved, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace!